a big day in our lives. We're cutting our big bolts. This is gonna be a giant transformation and I can't wait. I'm Kristen and this is Matt. We've spent the last 4 years sailing our $5,000 Craigslist boat to some of the most beautiful places in the Caribbean. From spearfishing in South Andros, Bahamas, staying in a treehouse and riding horses through the rainforest of the Dominican Republic, to even dodging hurricanes in Puerto Rico. We could have never imagined what this adventure would become. After gaining more sailing experience, we knew we had to make some serious upgrades to our boat if we wanted to keep this journey going. So we decided to go all in with our 40-year-old boat and get a new engine. We soon realized that we were in for more projects than we originally planned on. There's gonna be some major changes coming up, so hit subscribe and join us for the journey. What's up guys? Welcome back to Sailing GBU. On the last episode, we got our engine in, we swung it around the boat like Tarzan, and it came plopping in. We got it pretty much semi-formal, that's not the right word, almost lined up, but we realized since it's at the top of the bolts, we need to actually bring up our stringers. Is that what they're called?
They're probably called engine mounts. I think they're called stringers when they run side to side for the structure of the boat. But for this episode, I'm sure we're going to call them stringers more than once. But yeah, the engine mounts got to come up. I want them a little bit taller, about an inch taller and about a ½ inch wider. So I'm going to improve the structure there to give my engine a little more strength. I plan on running the out of this engine, so you know, I want everything to be perfectly in there where my engine's not going to jump out of its feet prints one of these days. So yeah, we got that going on, and we got the guys to help us bring it in. It was great having all those hands on deck. They were able to move it around, you know, make some little micro adjustments and get it very close to being aligned. It's very close now, and I could probably bolt it on and drive the boat around if I had to, just as it sits right now, but it's not ideal. It can be 20% better, so we're going to strive for that and make it, you know, as good as we can possibly make it. Therefore, we're going to change it all.
All right, let's jump right into work because we got a busy week of us.
Yes, we do have a
busy week of us.
We got a busy week of just being us, you know. Also, guys, before we get started on working on this engine, we're doing a giveaway at 200,000 subscribers. So if you like the channel, if you like free stuff, make sure you hit subscribe, and you might have a chance to win something cool. We're going to be giving away some cool stuff. So that's that, and let's get to work. All right, so the first thing I gotta do is get my, I think they're called lag bolts, out of my feet there. So I gotta take all 8 of those out, and then I should be able to just simply hulk this engine right out.
I don't know about that, but we gotta get that engine out if we're gonna fix underneath it. So hopefully this goes easier than I'm thinking.
Yep. Alright guys, so this might sound a little weird, but I'm going to use the old crate that it came in to set it in while I'm doing the work on the stringers. And but first, I think, so I don't have to lift it all the way in, I'm going to cut this out so that it's lower so I can slide it in quite a bit easier. Yeah, bring it up. Okay, hold on. Okay, can you let it down slowly?
Here I go.
Okay, wait. Let the rope completely off.
Okay.
Alright guys, so I got the engine in here. We have some pieces to cut of wood, some sawdust and everything flying around on here. So I'm going to cut this black bag so that I can fit it over the engine, you know, to keep it all nice and red and dust free. Alright, so I got the height that I want and the width. I got pressure treated super green board on the plywood, which isn't really important. I just needed that for the width. And then I have hardwood maple on top, which is supposed to do pretty good against the rot and things like that. And it's really, really strong. So that's going to help where the weight's going to be sitting from the engine. And now I'm going to put some fiberglass on. I have some thick woven stuff that I'm going to be putting on there. But first I have to sand it down to make sure that everything's going to lay flat. So quick sand, and then we'll be getting into our other stuff. Alright guys, so I came up with a quick hack for sanding and things like that. Obviously, it's not a ton of sanding on this boat. Sometimes you want a high pressure orbital sander that will rip through and take out a lot of stuff, but I needed it in a small space because there's a lot of little corners. So the other day I saw this crazy tool hack on Instagram where a guy took like double-sided tape with sandpaper and stuck it on one of these and was sanding with it. The problem with these thin blades is that if you load them on the face, they'll like touch something and they'll just explode and send like shrapnel everywhere. So that's a horrible idea. What I did was I took a buffing wheel and I cut it down so that it would fit onto my grinder. And it's a little bit dangerous as well. Sometimes these things will grab and like fly off and like send pieces of paper and sandpaper at your face. So you just sort of wear glasses and face protection, but it's gonna be a lot better than a piece of this wheel flying off and hitting you. So if you got to turn your grinder into a sander, use an old buffing wheel and it actually works really well. Yeah. Alright guys, so it's time to get to the fiberglassing. It's pretty simple process. Mix 1 and 1 with the fiberglass, cut this up. I have some old pieces that I'm kind of budging to make work, piecing it all together, but I think it's going to work. It's all thick fiberglass. Gonna add a little bit of weight for some of my weight people out there, but I think it's going to be a lot stronger. It's very important because it well holds the engine. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so we got a bunch of good thick fiberglass in there. The wood, the plywood soaked up a ton of that resin, so that's good. That's going to be like really logged with resin so that it'll never rot or anything like that. And the maples didn't really suck up any, but I got it really well coated, so I'm happy about that. The waterproofing is going to be great. It ain't the prettiest, but when I come down here and I grind it all out, it'll look good enough once it's got paint on it and it's underneath an engine, and it's going to be rock solid. So I'm much more happy about that. It's going to give me more wiggle room with the installation, and it's going to just be overall better. Alright guys, so it's another day, another dollar. Old Matty boy here to make you holler. We on Matt Cam because I have to sand all this fiberglass down in a tight spot, and I don't want my loving wife Kristen to be down here having to deal with that itchy nonsense. So today I'm flying solo, and in true Matty fashion, I'm going to get as much done as I possibly can while I'm unsupervised. Alright, so I got her sanded down and now we're ready to paint. Let's get some paint on there. Got the first coat in there, everything's sanded down, painted, looks really good. I'm super happy about it. Obviously I have a little bit more work to do, but I'm really hyped. I think it came out really good. It's going to give me a lot more wiggle room to keep my engine safe and my bolts aligned properly, so it's going to come out really good.
Alright guys, it's been a crazy week. It's been a few days. We've had a wild time because we broke our camera lens. Our very expensive camera lens needs repairing. If you know any good camera shops in Puerto Rico, let us know, because I think it still can be repaired, but that's besides the point. We ran around still working, filming with our GoPro and our phone, but it's kind of all over the place. What else happened?
So then we received a package which was our shaft seal, which we thought was going to be the perfect size. So in order to get ready to start installing that, I had to go outside into the water first and start packing in some butyl tape around the hole on the outside of the stern tube so that water wouldn't come in when I went to replace it. Alright, so it's a new day. I'm changing my shaft seal. First thing I'm going to do, I already plugged it on the outside. I'm going to slide this off and see how much water is coming in to see if my plug is working. If it's working great, I'm going to move forward and go ahead and change the shaft seal. If it's not looking great, I'm going to just put it back on and have to go back to the drawing board of plugging the hole. Alright, so this is the new shaft seal. It's got this rubber thing in there to hold the little lips down for when you slide it on, they don't poke the wrong way because it'll let too much water in. This keeps them poking the backwards way so that once it's all on, water doesn't come rushing in the boat. Pretty clever little engineering there. So after we had it installed, it turns out that it wasn't the perfect like a glove fit that we were shooting for. It was like 1 millimeter off. I don't know if they just don't make one for our stern tube, or our stern tube could be a custom job that they just don't make the right size for. So luckily it was a little bit better of a fit, so the hose clamps that go on it still work perfectly fine. We put 2 hose clamps on there and it's perfectly sufficient. It's been, you know, a couple days now and no water's coming in. It works really, really well. And so then, now that I had that right, I was able to put my shaft coupling back on and start aligning my shaft where I had mounted my engine to. So I took a few little pieces of starboard and I cut a 1-inch hole out of the middle, and then I put these 2 like plastic pieces as like shims into my stern tube, so it was holding my shaft right in the middle of the stern tube. So with those 2 hard pieces in there, plastic pieces, I was able to line up the engine perfectly and get the shaft, everything perfectly aligned so that it's going to work well. And I was pretty excited about that. It all worked really, really well for me.
It was a good job. A clever plan.
Clever plan. Shimmed it in there. And then actually, watching later, I was watching something about, you know, shaft things and their coupling that I had to install. And I saw a guy actually out of the water. He took a water hose that he had cut like down the middle and wrapped the water hose around the shaft to hold it, you know, in the right place to line up the engine. So if you're out of the water, you can use a water hose for that as well. I used a couple pieces of plastic that I had kind of shimmed out to hold it there. So it worked really well. I was pleased with it.
Then we got into the next project of the week that I think a lot of you have been waiting for. All right, guys, it's a big day in our lives. We're cutting our big bolts. All the bolts up here, we're cutting them down, we're trimming them down, and we're gonna end up painting over them. So all of you that have been waiting for this to happen, it's happening today.
Kristen said this is really going to add to the ambiance of the cabin. So to all you people wanting us to cut them off for all those years, hope you're proud of yourself.
And then finally, Matt prepped the rest of the salon getting ready for paint.
So before we could get into painting, I had to rip a few things out of the way so that we could get a nice, clean, flat, smooth, seamless approach for our all grip.
Alright guys, so we got all the windows popped off and now it's time to get into painting. This is going to be a giant transformation and I can't wait.
To discover if I would have had the worthiness to be the perfect lover, would you stay under the willow tree when I asked if you would be? Would you be my Valentine? Would you be my Valentine?
Alright guys, so now our engine is, you would say, aligned, right? The stringers have helped it come up.
Yep.
We have aligned it, so it's been a busy week, a lot of work, some ups, some downs, but look how great our paint job is. Like, I'm super hyped on the paint. It makes such a big difference, and it's worth every penny for that expensive paint. Now let's just hope it lasts and it stays wipeable forever.
Oh, it's going to stay wipeable forever. This paint is no joke. It's the big baller daddy status. But now that that's done, I'm going to be able to move forward with a lot of the routing. And I didn't really give the engineering of some of these cabinets the most forethought when I knew that I was going to have to do the routing, you know, when I built them. So I got a lot of that to do, but there's a ton of those projects that I'm going to be able to knock out. And then the engine installation now has to happen. So I'm going to be getting into that, putting in the ray cord, the fuel filter treatment, obviously the fuel tank's got to be in there, hoses for that, the C strainer, then I have to hook up the muffler as well. So there's 4 more systems that I have to kind of deal with. That's going to take some days, and you know, we want it to run perfectly, but I would really like to have it up and running in a week. You know, 1 more week of laminating, 1 more week of doing the motor. So 2 weeks, I think we can be almost ready to move back on the boat. Because
what?
I don't want to pay for no
I
more.
haven't even showed the cushions yet.
Bro, we can live without cushions. We can just put the old cushions on the floor.
Well, my V-berth cushions are done.
Yeah, I put a sheet down because I'm tired of paying for these goddamn Airbnbs, and I'd like to be able to move back on the boat once we're not doing noxious fumes from the, you know, the Bondo and the paint and all that crazy stuff, and you know, all that. We can live on the boat, back on here, and you know, it would be nice to be eventually
we
done
gotta get
with this.
our fixtures and
Yeah, we got some fixtures. So we got, let's say realistically,
plumbing and
a
our
week to get
electric
the
need
engine
to work.
running, a week to get
Don't
all the
listen to him.
laminating
We
done,
got
a
some
week
time,
to get
but
the fixtures
we're
and the
getting
plumbing,
there.
a week for electric. We got a month left, realistically. Hopefully. Good Lord, I hope so. Because I ain't going to get nothing done because my old man's going to come visit me in Puerto Rico, and my dad never been to Puerto Rico before, so, you know, you guys might get to meet my dad. I'm not promising.
Papa, Uncle Matty.
Fucking Papa, Uncle Matt's here, and you know, I think if you do get to meet my dad, I don't know, he might be camera shy, but I was raised by wolves, and if you meet my dog, you're gonna say, you know what, Matt, you came out pretty okay for being raised by that.
It's a bird. He doesn't really
Truth
mean
hurts. The truth hurts, but it will set you free. No, I love my dad. He's probably one of the most genuine people I've ever met. But that can get a little old sometimes, you know. He's a bit of a ball buster.
As we all are.
Well, her and my dad get along great. They just like to sit there and call me lame as hell every 5 seconds.
But thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you check out our Patreon if you want to see real-time updates. We make videos there that are just explaining stuff, maybe more behind the scenes than we get into these videos. And anything else you gotta say? Hit subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next week.
Yeah, do all that stuff, and please come back next week to hang out with us, because it is going to get done, and it's going to be so delicious looking. I'm telling you, it's going to be like finger licking. I can see with this paint in here, ooh boy, ooh daddy.